Hi, Bill Henshaw here again, Constitutional Coup Headquarters, and with this stunning another development in U.S. Supreme Court right when the 9-0 parts are getting ready to come back in session on October the 3rd, and that is my good long-term friend Adam sent them the best document I've ever seen, including my own, and he writes more in the way that they'll recognize the forms and uses their forms and this, that, and the other. I'm a little different that way. The issues we have are strikingly similar, however. And he presented 166 pages, and he just got it returned unfiled by the clerk of the U.S. Supreme Court. Now, neither he or I have ever heard of anything like that. They claim he's in violation of the federal rules of civil procedure. And those, the idiot clerk wouldn't know, the justices should know, the FRCP doesn't even exist and never has. And it wouldn't apply if it did exist because it emanates from a government in which we are not represented. More to the point here, particularly constitutionally, if the clerk of court in fact got this message from Chief Justice Roberts, that's in effect saying in no uncertain terms that the Supreme Court isn't a judicial court, that there are no judicial courts remaining, and that the Constitution has been repealed. Damn, exact opposite of what I expected going into the session, and maybe still would be, but there's a lot of questions. I want to talk more about this on another video as well. But if he can't get in there with the issues that he represented, and like all of you, you're going to be real familiar with this because you try to go in and file papers in the trial court, for example, and often it's not, they won't let you do it, or they do, and in the quote unquote criminal case, the local dumbass ignores them like they do with me. I haven't even had one acknowledged in 5 decades, and yet they have the burden of proof to establish the jurisdiction of the court. Perhaps that's the reason I've never gone to jail as a result of any quote unquote traffic case or what have you, because they can't do it. And there's more to it, as you'll learn. Send me an email, youwinnincourt@gmail.com. I have a very modestly priced document package. You're going to love it, how this works. And it's astounding. But trust me, I've been doing this 5 decades now, 15 years all in. I didn't get it at first either. The magnitude of the deceit, fraud, and treason that are going on here. It takes a little bit to comprehend it. That's why you'll learn quicker than me, because I've done documents to make it much easier for you than to spend the 10,000 hours I did in those musty old stacks of law books. When it hits you like a ton of bricks, and this is the feeling they don't want you to have, because if you get out from under, which I'm in the process of doing, they have no control over you. We're the ones in power, and we should be. We ordained and established this Constitution to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, didn't we? You go into court and start acting like that, and with my document packets, by the way, you can start to say things with attitude and with authority. Most of that authority comes from the U.S. Supreme Court and some of the framers of the Constitution and other august legal experts, and it's very hard for the other side to even contemplate, all that you get in my documents and all the issues to be raised under all 6 articles of the Constitution. Back to Adam's case, I can't believe, and he sent copies, and in theory, all of the justices should have gotten copies of these documents too if it wasn't intercepted by the clerk. Now, he's good enough that I spoke to him Monday morning just after he'd gotten this packet back from the clerk of court. By Monday afternoon, he had filed a complaint in the local federal district court attempting to invoke the concurrent judicial power of the United States in an Article 3 circuit court. Before the day is over, he gets a phone call, and I think an order too from this black robe bastard who's the head judge down there, whatever district court it is. They denied his complaint on the grounds that it was specious, frivolous, and he could not maintain his burden of proof. Now, you read that document that he has. It's on thespiritoflaw.com. And this is the petition he sent to the U.S. Supreme Court, which was an exhibit in this later case against the clerk of the Supreme Court, for treason. And that's the U.S. Supreme Court saying it, not Adam, not me. Case is called Collins v. Virginia, 6 Wheaton 264, 1818. Oh, that's old law. They don't use that anymore. Well, that case was just cited twice last term in what look on the surface to be dissenting opinions of Justices Alito and Thomas. But as they say in Langley, black is white. And the truth of the matter is, if I'm reading the tea leaves correctly, and I've been doing it for a long time, it's the opposite, 7-2 in our favor. Because they cited Cohen's, and you can't cite that case unless you fully understand what it means. That's the best decision they ever made, and you'll learn why. And virtually nothing of it, by the way, goes to the merits of the case. Back in its day, it was the first case the Supreme Court ruled a criminal case out of a state court. And there was some controversy about that, although I'm left to wonder why in retrospect. But they did the right thing. They reversed the conviction. But what they said in the form of dicta in there, let me give you a direct quote here, and Collins is loaded with these. Direct quote, Chief Justice John Marshall, that infallible icon of Harvard and Yale, who was never wrong, right? Direct quote. The Constitution gave to each person a right to present his case to the court of the nation, no matter how small the claim, nor how little interest the community in its outcome. The framers of our Constitution thought it important in the interest of justice to create a tribunal as superior to influence as possible in which that claim might be decided. What the hell has happened in 200 years? We can't even nowadays get documents filed in a trial court, courtesy of the COVID pandemic that doesn't exist. And I'm not saying, by the way, there hasn't been some unfortunate occurrences with that, but my goodness, it's not to be confused with, for example, the bubonic plague in the 14th century that wiped out 25% of Europe. This is still, even with their inflated figures, and a lot of you medical people have sold out your mores and your ethics, shame on you. But hell, even with inflated figures, it's well under 1% as far as fatalities are concerned. And it's just another case of government creating the problem and then offering the solution, which nowadays it occurs much more frequently, a demand for mandatory COVID vaccination. This with the vaccine, quote unquote, that you don't even know what's in it. And doesn't matter what happens to you, you can't sue Big Pharma. They've been given blanket immunity in all state courts, or at least what fraudulently purport to be state courts. Nothing you can do. That alone tells you that there are no states. That's the crown jewel of all the issues that I advocate. No states. If we can't sue Big Pharma in state courts, that's exactly what they're saying behind the scenes. It's all money and power in my former hometown of Washington, D.C. But that said, do take a look, at Adams' petition to the U.S. Supreme Court, 166 pages, beautifully done. And you can go to thespiritoflaw.com and check that out, and send me an email, youwinnincourt@gmail.com. I'll get you information about my modestly priced materials, and more than that too, because there's a lot of crap coming down here that, we have a real chance, an unprecedented window, I still think, to change the way events are going and set upon a path to get back to our nation and republic of defined and limited powers. If we can do that, no, it won't be perfect. But the changes that we can make, if we're so desired, and if it's done in accordance with Article 5, most particularly of the Constitution, we can take care of most things. That said, for all the Asians and Africans that look like they'll be out of luck here if we go back to what we had in that racist society, ain't not true, because even inhabitants of territories at the time had the right to trial by jury according to the course of the common law. That's Article 2 of the Northwest Ordinance of 1787 as reenacted by the first Congress. And you look around in your jurisdiction and or your quote unquote state and see if you see a right to trial by jury anywhere in sight. If you do, I'd love to hear it. Because among other things, the 9 parts have seemed to rule that there's no right to a trial by jury in any criminal misdemeanor case. Case is Blanton v. Nevada, 489 U.S., I think 567. I might be wrong on the quote, but that's the case, Blanton v. Nevada. And they've indicated in earlier opinions there might not be any such right in a felony case either. We haven't got that far yet, but the way they're headed, I mean, they just think they can damn well do what they want to do. And we have to stand up together and get out there and stop these bastards. Not only saving our lives and making the best of it, but doing the same thing for your children and your posterity. Lord, if I was a 5-year-old growing up these days, and by the way, I just came off a weekend here where, I just turned 73 and I don't have a family, so I got asked to do some babysitting duty over the course of 4 days when my little sweetie was at a wedding. It was back and forth, and I did really well, and little kid Zion did really well too. He wasn't bad, nothing, nothing. It was a pretty good 4 days, but boy, those kids have a lot of energy. Yeah, it took me over a day to sleep it off when I got back. But that said, the important news there is to check out, Mr. Berkey's petition, and take a look at it and see if you can figure out how this gets denied. Because we have a right to be there, and that's if they understand Cohen's, and they do. They know we have better standing than states do. We have to. We created the whole mess. These are our courts, and they're summarily keeping them out, especially the Supreme Court of the United States. I mean, that's bad enough in a trial court when you can't set a record, although that's what I specialize in, by the way. We set unopposed records in the trial court and then go after the bastards, for a big settlement and to get them to change the way they do business. And probably without having to file any court papers either, because the magnitude of the issues, even one of them, it creates bedlam for the other side. It's Pandora's box. But my goodness, that really is something that we have to start to get to work on quickly here and get it done as fast as we can. But as I say, you go to the spiritoflaw.com, check out Mr. Berkey's petition. It pops right up there, and it's an eye opener. And those of you that get my materials, I'll send you what I did when I was alone in that South Carolina jail cell 5 years ago. Mine was only 18 pages, hand printed. Had 40 case citations in there, no errors. This one didn't get filed by the 9 parts either. But that said, I know, although I can't prove it, that they got a call in Columbia, South Carolina, get him the hell out of there. We can't answer these questions on the record. That's the kind of change I think we're going to see coming now with the Trump appointees on there, and with Alito and Thomas, possibly Roberts, and possibly Breyer. We are going to have a good majority to address some real issues for the first time and tell the American people the truth. If that happens, I will have achieved most of what I set out to do, even if I don't get across the Red Sea to the other side. And at my age, you simply don't know. My family genes and history tell me I got a good 8 or 10 years, maybe a little more than that. And we'll see how it works out. But that's what I've been trying to do, 5 decades. And I've enjoyed every minute of it. It's not a sacrifice. It was what I was put here to do, to help you and make your life better and everyone's life better at the same time, except for all these appointed back row bastards in the courtroom and people like that, local dumbass. They're committing acts of treason. We'll be dealing with you. So that said, thespiritoflaw.com. Check out Mr. Berkey's petition. Send me an email, youwinnincourt@gmail.com, for information on my materials. Remember to subscribe, like the videos, tell your friends, get the word out. As soon as we start working together here, Americans, Asians, Africans, across the board, cut out the divide and conquer crap they've been doing for way too long. That's the road to victory. We get these bastards off our back. Thank you.